Listen, this conversation is so important because a lot of entrepreneurs, right? Like, you don't always think that you need
HR.
HR until you need
Need HR.
HR. So I'm excited to drop some gems for the people today, for the people who think, or for the business owners who think that their business may be too small to be
Yeah.
thinking about these things, and even to larger businesses who should be thinking about it and aren't thinking about it yet.
Mhm.
I can't wait to just really drop some knowledge
Yeah.
on those people for sure. Welcome to the Let's Talk Money Honey podcast with me, Khadija Bingham, where we spill the tea on entrepreneurship. The sweet, the sour, and most importantly, we're talking money, honey. I am so excited for today's episode. We have with us Miss Corinne Green, who is an awesome entrepreneur. She's also a client of Money Honey. And I am just so excited to have this conversation. I think you have such a niche that not enough people talk about. So I'm excited to walk through it. But before we get started, please tell the people who you are.
So I am Corrine Green. I am the owner and CEO of Human Resources Managers on the Move, also known as HR Mom LLC. We are a one-stop HR department that provides organizational development services to Black, minority, and women-owned small businesses.
Listen, this conversation is so important because a lot of entrepreneurs, right? Like, you don't always think that you need HR until you need HR. So I'm excited to drop some gems for the people today, for the people who think, or for the business owners who think that their business may be too small to be thinking about these things, and even to larger businesses who should be thinking about it and aren't thinking about it yet. I can't wait to just really drop some knowledge on those people for sure. But Corinne, we start every episode sharing our sweet moments of entrepreneurship and our sour moments. So can you share with us a sweet moment that you've had as an entrepreneur?
I think a sweet moment that I had as an entrepreneur would be being able to see the fruits of our labor with some of our own team members, and being able to grow them into full-time salaried positions. One of our team members just bought our first home. So being able to see that the work that we do and that we do together and that I've established as a brand has been able to provide such a quality of life for the individuals that work with me.
I love that your sweet moment isn't about you, right? Like, it's
Absolutely.
about
It's
the
never about
impact that
me.
you, not even like your clients. It's like,
Mhm.
because of the business that I'm running, I can give opportunities to people and change their lives.
Absolutely.
Oh, I love that so
Yep.
much. Okay, tell us a sour moment.
I'll say the sour moment had to be in 2018 where 2019, around that time, 2018, 2019, right before COVID. I'll mention this. It was literally right before COVID. I actually closed my business.
Mm.
I had come to a road where I got very fearful, and I was afraid. And making that jump from being an employee to an employer is very different. And so there was some pieces about operating the business I didn't know and I wasn't comfortable in, and it scared me. And all of my pedigree and experience, and I just ran back to what was familiar. So I went back to work. And for me, that work looked like I'm a professor of communications as well. So I went back to full-time faculty and full-time teaching. And so that felt safe to me. And so it wasn't my proudest moment as an entrepreneur, but I know when I was teaching, I didn't feel whole and I didn't feel as useful and I didn't feel like I was living out my purpose. So in February of 2020, I made the decision to reopen HR Mom.
Okay.
And when I reopened, I said a prayer. I'm a woman of faith, and my business has faith-based principles. And I said, I will never close this business again. I will live it out and work it out no matter how hard it gets. And March 2020 happened and the pandemic happened. And it was rocky. But we were able to survive for a couple of reasons. One, many of the clients that I was working with had come back. And lo and behold, most of them were cleaning services and companies that had received federal funds and contracts. And if you know anything, we all lived through the pandemic. At one point, they were doing 24-hour cleaning. So your malls and your buildings and your organizations that was trying to remain open in the beginning of COVID, they had to be clean 24/7. And so we did a lot of hiring. We was working with small and large businesses, and it was one of our highest grossing years.
Wow.
And so it was, I bounced back from that sour moment, but to close the business out of fear, for not knowing what I didn't know. It was pretty sour experience.
Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing it. Let's unpack that a little bit. How long were you in business before you decided that you needed to return back to work?
2 years.
So it was 2
So
years.
I started HR Mom in February of 2017.
Okay.
This coming February will be 8 years old. And so 2 years in, it had gotten a little scary. And like I said, I decided to close.
And then how long were you teaching again before you decided to open back up? And when you decided to open back up, did you jump back into it full time or were you doing it part time? What did that look like?
So I had always been faculty, and I've been faculty for over 20 years now.
Okay.
And I taught mainly at night,
Okay.
in conjunction with my full-time corner office, six-figure HR
Okay.
position, working at different organizations, for-profit and nonprofit. So in that time that I started HR Mom, I had just gotten laid off from one of my positions. And I'll say it was kind of mutual agreement. I decided that I was ready to leave, and they was looking for opportunity to let some people transition out. And I was like, I volunteer.
Yeah.
And so I was able to move out.
That's funny. That was always my dream. I used to say to my old manager when I was working in corporate, I'm like, if y'all have to let people go, can I be on the list? Because I figured I'd get a severance. I have some time to be able to I'll still be getting a paycheck while I'm figuring out my own thing.
Yeah, I got to write my own severance package. I got to negotiate what I wanted. I stayed on long enough to wrap up a project I was really proud of to leave behind, and it just happened to work out for me. It was an easy transition. And so that happened in October of 2016. And in February of 2017, I started HR Mom. And so when I closed in February of 2019, I thought that, I'll go back to full-time teaching, and that's what I did.
Okay.
And so I did that for about a year. And I just went and I taught full-time faculty as an adjunct. So I'm one class away from finishing my doctorate.
Yay!
So I don't know when we air, but I might be Dr. Green.
I'm about to say the next time we're going to have to put some respect on your name for sure.
Well, I'm very humble. I like to think I'm very humble, but you can always call me Corinne.
No.
But Dr. Green will be loading. Dr. Green is loading. Nonetheless, but so when I went into full-time teaching, I was teaching at 4 different schools, teaching 6 different classes.
Oh, wow.
So I was road running. And again, not only did I not feel fulfilled, but it was a lot. I was
tired.
Driving, I was tired. I was teaching 4 days a week at 6 different schools, and I was making good money, but it was just it wasn't what I wanted to do, and it was something I could do, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. It wasn't my heart and my passion.
And then, so what changes did you make this time around? Once you relaunched the business, you got back into the business to kind of make sure that you're not in that position again?
So I think a couple things. I sought out a lot of resources to help me understand what I didn't know.
I'm not gonna lie, Corinne, I think you're the resource queen. Every time we on the phone, you drop a new, you like the PDIC. I'm like, hold up, let me write this.
You do be taking notes. I was watching on the Zoom. You be like, Corinne, let me write this. And when I'm in the office, you be like, hold on, let me get a pen. And I like to say I'm a collector and connector of people. I love people, and I love connecting them to resources. But for me, I've always been a learner. I've always been one that wants access to resources and access to new information. So when I was able to identify what I didn't know, I was able to pinpoint what it is that I actually needed. And I went out and sought those resources. So for me, one of those things I knew my gap was financial. I did not have a deep understanding of what it meant to operate the business financially. I didn't understand the numbers. I didn't understand these reports. What is a P&L? What is a balance statement? What is, I was basic transaction. I love to shop. For me, it's like I got cash. I got good credit. I got a credit card. I got an awesome husband that provides. It's not unlimited funds, but I could walk into a store, room, get whatever I want, pay for it, and leave.
Right.
I'm not thinking about a budget. I'm not thinking about forecasting. I operate my household, and so at the end of the day, I didn't understand the business mechanics of financing the business. And so when it got rocky and it got scary, that overwhelmed me. And I was like, I'll go back to familiar. I'm going to get a paycheck. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. So
like,
when
I'm going to get a paycheck. Only person I got to worry about is me.
me,
I'm not paying
and
nobody.
I know exactly how much I'm going to get. They're going to take taxes, and it is what it is. And so, and I didn't have overhead with having to pay anybody or anything like that. And so I said to myself, I said, you got to slow down. You have to seek out the resources. You have to find programs and people that are smarter than you, that know a little bit more, and they can teach you so you can understand. Because again, going from the employee to the employer is completely different. I knew everything else. I knew the business mechanics. I've sat with presidents. I've sat with CEOs. I sat in the C-suite. I'm very, very well educated. So I knew a lot of how to operate the business, but I didn't understand the financial piece. So I had to backtrack and I had to go and seek that out. And so, and I'm still learning, and coming up on 8 years, I'm still learning some things. And I couldn't just make moves all willy nilly and just, oh, I'm just going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'll fix it on the back end. That wasn't working. So I had to sit with somebody, and I had to take a class, and I had to humble myself and go into these programs that were, a lot of them were free. A lot of them were free. There was so many free resources. The small business development centers, the enterprise centers, the business centers. I mean, there was so many different resources here that was able to give me the knowledge I needed financially.
And I do love that. And one thing that I will say is that we are based in Philadelphia. So if you are looking into any of the resources that Corinne are, if you're in the Philadelphia area, a lot of the resources that Corinne just mentioned are based here in Philadelphia.
But even outside of the Philadelphia area, a lot of these resources are federal resources and they're national. So your small business development centers, they're going to be everywhere because they come through the SBA. So even starting as large as the SBA office and going onto their website and figuring out where your local center might be. It might be at a college or university. It might be at a local CDC. It might be at a local nonprofit organization, but it's going to be somewhere around because they want small businesses to have access to these services and access to this information. 99% of the businesses in America are owned by small business owners with less than 25 employees. They make up 99% of the businesses. We hear about the Amazons of the world, the Googles of the world, all these large organizations, but it is the 99% that's really generating the economy.
Love that.
Absolutely.
Love that. Wow. So, Corinne, we're going to get into our money moment.
Money moments.
Now, and then also before we even get into the money moment, one thing that I do want to say is that you mentioned how before you weren't on top of your finances, and now that's a lot different.
I got
for
you, Khadijah, too.
Yeah, you do have me, but also like Corinne, you know your numbers.
Which is amazing. I do.
Corinne is like, I need to cut a check for payroll, and I know exactly how much that check needs to be. And payroll is this every time it comes out, right? Like, so you've really been on it. You're aware. You're making the changes clearly that you need to make in order to stay on top of that, for sure.
Yep.
So this money moment should be easy.
It should be. Let's see. Let's see my money moments. Okay, fire away.
All right. What's the most amount of money you've made in a single month as an entrepreneur? So back from when you first started until now.
About 20 grand.
Love.
Yep.
Which month this year was your highest revenue month?
That's going to be a hard one. In all honesty, this year we struggled because I had a serious health issue in which I had to come out of work. I had to have brain surgery. And so I know I don't look like what I've been through, but the Lord was able to allow the business to stay open. And so we didn't take on any new clients. And so this month, going from those high months when we were invoicing anywhere from 15 to 20 grand to down to almost 5 grand, it was another challenge, right? But I'm a very resilient person, and we have a very aggressive plan for 2025 and the years going forward. And we're looking to rebuild. So I think we will come out of it strong. I know we will come out of it strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Y'all should see her forecasting spreadsheet.
I will say, between the opportunities to, we have lots and lots of opportunities for classes coming up and working with government contracts and just a lot of marketing strategies. I mean, we are hitting the ground running to rebuild back up to that 20 grand and even more to position ourselves to be a $250,000 grossing company soon.
Period. And thank you so much for sharing that, because I don't think that people realize that, like, when you are the one running the show, your health impacts how the business does as well. So, like, having, like you mentioned, having to get brain surgery and taking a step back, but still your business it may not be the revenue amounts that you were used to, but you didn't have to shut the business down.
And I think what you said is very important, because when you are the person in the true CEO role, that allows you to structure and strategically plan and forecast. When you're in a person in the actual work role, that's where you struggle in the day-to-day to just stay above water. Because like if you run a restaurant, you can't be the chef and the server and try to run a business, because you need to be strategically thinking about what the next step is and where do we go next from here. And so while my clients were getting served, because I built a strong team and I have strong partners, I wasn't able to think about what's the next step for the business. So I couldn't work in CEO mode. And so that set me back, right? So having those almost 10 months now off, I really struggled. And so being able to now come back full force and put those steps in place, and I didn't have to jump back into the work seat mode. I'm not interviewing and recruiting individuals.
Right.
I'm not phone screening client candidates and things of that nature. So now being able to sit down and say, okay, where are we with the initiative for moving forward with partnerships for government grants? Where are we with the marketing initiative? What's our next strategic move as I look forward to implementing the ebook and, you know, all these different initiatives we have going and back into CEO mode. So that becomes a bit of a challenge.
I love that, because I keep saying, I love that. I love that. They were like, she love everything.
She love everything.
No, but I love that you said that too, because I think that what I found with me being a new business owner is that I was spending too much time working in the business and not enough time working on the business. And one of the ways, and sometimes I have moments where I still have to do more in the business that I would like, but one thing that I've tried to do is set a day where I have like my true CEO day. Like on Fridays, I'm not doing anything for a client. The only thing that I'm doing is stuff that that's when I'm looking at my books. That's when I'm thinking about my forecast. That's when I'm thinking about my marketing strategy. Because I'm not at a point now where I can do that full time, but at least to start, all right, I got this one day where I can like think about what's next, because before it was like, I don't know what's next. I gotta figure out what's now. I owe this person this. I owe this person that. So it's definitely, I'm happy that you brought that up for sure. All right, next money moment. What was your salary or wage before leaving entrepreneurship, and have you been able to replace that for yourself through your business?
I think a lot of times we focus a lot on the numbers because we focus on how much we can bring in financially. I won't lie, I was at 6 figures. I think I was grossing probably 108.
Okay.
Now I'll say my quality of life has increased. I get a lot of my time back. I have 2 daughters. One is 19. She is a sophomore at the University of Pittsburgh, and my younger daughter is 13, and she's a middle schooler, 8th grader. She's a senior. And I have a husband. We've been married almost 21 years now. And so I'm able to be there for them in ways that I wasn't able to be there for them when I was in corporate. I'm able to travel when I need to. I'm able to show up and parent my adult daughter when I need to. I'm able to care for my health when I need to. I'm able to still shop, travel, and spend money how and when I need to. Financially, I do pay myself on payroll. I pay myself every 2 weeks. And it's one of the things I teach my clients to do as well when we sit down and we come up with a plan. And I teach them to pay themselves what they think their lifestyle could afford. And so I pay myself probably about 30 grand a year.
Okay.
But I feel like my total compensation package, and that's an HR term because you got to think about your benefits and all your things. I feel like my total compensation package is well worth that 108 grand.
Love.
Because it's just, I sometimes I tell people when I walk into a room and they don't know me, I tell them I'm retired. How are you retired at 45? I think retirement's a state of mind. I think you get to do what you want with your time. You get to be used how you would like to use your time. You get to make decisions and you get to work for yourself, how you choose to work for yourself. And that's how I live. And so if I need to sleep in late that day because I'm not feeling well, I can sleep in late. If I need to grind early that day, I can grind early. But if I need to show up for my daughter, sometimes a lot of our folks, and I'll say our folks, they sit in jobs and they can't show up to a child's event, or they can't show up to a sporting event. They don't sit in seats where they're decision makers, where they could leave in the middle of the day. I've been fortunate enough to be able to live like that, and I've never missed a moment to be there for my daughters. And entrepreneurship allowed me that, and so did my positions in corporate, because fortunately enough, I was in a position, in a seat to be able to do that. But I recognize that's not everybody. And so for me, the number isn't as important as the quality of life is. And so I think that's the gift that's been given to me as an entrepreneur. And that's the life that I've been allowed and fortunate to live.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. Okay. More money. On average, what's your largest business expense?
Payroll.
Of course.
The largest business expense. That's not a shocker, right? That's everybody, whether your team is 1 or 100. And usually the numbers show that on average, most organizations are going to run 40% of their revenue for payroll and operations. Depending on what type of business you're running, it could be a little bit larger. Sometimes in nonprofits, they see it at almost half.
Oh, wow.
Almost half, 50%. It could be running in overhead costs for staff, for benefits and compensation. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, because again, the compensation is for them to have a nice quality of life, right? So you want them to have a competitive chance. You want them to be able to provide for their families, just like you providing for yours. We look at minimum wage, and in Pennsylvania, that's $7.25 an hour. Nobody's going to work for $7.25 an hour. If in some federal grants and things like that, and federal contracting and things like that, is as high as $15 an hour. Even that sometimes isn't enough. And so this year, the full-time salary federal wage is $11.25 a week. So you're looking at almost $58,000 a year. So if somebody's going to be a salaried position, that is the minimum amount you have to offer anybody. Yes, it's going up. January 1 is $11.25 a week. So if you're looking at hiring, camera moment, okay?
Period.
If you're looking at hiring a full-time person and they are going to be a salary person, it is $11.25 a week. So let's budget. Start sitting with your CPAs today and your accountants and your financial team, because that $11.25 is coming up on January 1, 2025.
I had no idea.
Oh yeah, it's coming. So, but that shouldn't be a problem if you was already paying somebody a livable wage.
Paying people livable wages, though.
And I like to start with my clients when they come to me and say, I want to hire somebody full time. I say, do you have $1,000 a week? That's $52,000 a year. Can you commit to that? Do you know your numbers enough? Are you grossing that amount to pull that amount out for salary? And then let's add about 10% of that for like taxes and your employer taxes. And a lot of times they'll say, oh, no, I don't have that. I'll say, okay, no problem. How have you been paying them already? They've been a contractor. I sit down and look at their numbers. You've been paying them that already.
Yeah.
So you have it.
Yeah.
You just didn't know that you had it.
Yeah.
Because you thought it was easier.
Don't be looking at their numbers.
They don't be looking at their numbers, and they thought it was easier. I don't want to worry about an extra expense in paying the taxes. But guess what? Paying the taxes helps you buy into the small business ecosystem, and that helps you to be available for contracts. That helps you to be available for federal funding and grants and things like that. So a lot of times when these resources are available to us, they want to see how many FTEs, full-time equivalent individuals, do you have on the books. If you're working with all contractors, they're not going to want to fund your business.
Right.
But if you have at least one person, and even if that one person is yourself, and a part-time hourly assistant, or a full-time staff member that you're paying $1,000 a week for, and it may run you additional $130 in taxes. Bring that person on. And guess
Yeah.
what's going to happen? If you close your business, if you need to take off, you're paying into unemployment,
Employment,
you're
right.
paying into workers' comp, all those different other insurances that you're now eligible for.
Yeah.
So, it's the business of knowing how to operate a business,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm sitting down with them and I'm looking at their numbers and I'm teaching them about conversion. Let's convert these contractors over to employees. Let's get you on the books and get paid. And now let's go after these grants. Let's go after these different avenues for funding and let's get you monies. And I've been able to help a lot of small business owners. I've helped businesses get 20, 28, 30,000, $40,000 in funding, free grant money because they had employees.
Yeah. Yeah. And aren't there like doesn't like the city have different loan
Oh yeah,
programs
they have different loan
just for
programs.
payroll?
The city of Philadelphia has one right now where if you're looking for if you're going to hire someone in the next 5 years and they have to be a full-time salary person, that they're doing a tax credit program for you for the next 5 years. And that's important because you paying your city, state, and federal taxes. And so that's a program. You just have to pay them at least, I think it's at least 50,000 a year, which again, that's $1,000 a week, but it's going up in January 1. But again, you can budget for that, right? And so as you're forecasting, there's a couple things you can do for things like that. You might start thinking about other services or other programs or things that you might be able to sell, or other avenues of revenue you might be able to bring in. But that's what we're sitting sometimes and working with our clients with too. We're saying, hey, where can we generate revenue for you so that you can bring these folks on board? If we need to make up an additional 5,000 a year because we're going to be bringing on a person.
And then that $1,000 a month, or the new regulation that's going in, you said that's for
1125 a week.
sorry, not a month, a week. You said for salary. So if I hire somebody and I pay them hourly, does that change things?
If you pay them hourly, as long as you pay them more than $7.25 an hour.
Okay.
The minimum you have to pay them is $7.25 an hour. But then when you pay them hourly, you start talking about your hourly overtime issues,
Okay.
right? And so a lot of people say, "Oh, I'd rather pay an hourly person because I don't know, I don't want to pay the salary amount." Well,
Yeah, like what if you got trust issues and you don't know if they really working?
that's when you have them clock in. That's when you have a very significant job description. That's when you're very clear about what their role is, and that's when you put some checks and balances in place to make sure that they're performing the work, right? You have a performance management plan. You're meeting with them, and you have to manage them well. But the issue I will say with that is, just remember, when you hire an hourly person, every time they touch something for your job, they are to clock in. So they pick up the phone at 5 o'clock at night. They're on the computer at 8 o'clock at night. They traveling with you, carrying your bag while you do whatever. They are on the clock. So you may run into a hourly issue. You might think, oh, well, I'm just going to pay them hourly. But guess what? If you had a 12-hour day, they got a 12-hour day.
Yeah.
And then overtime is 40 hours in that work week, not 80 hours in the work period.
Okay.
So if they work 45 hours in one week, you cannot change their work schedule the next week and say you're now only going to work 35 because you worked 5 hours the next week. That is illegal. That is illegal. I see that all the time.
Tell them it's illegal.
And so if you had an employee go to the Department of Labor and say, this has been happening to me, you're going to get
I'm
you're going to get
so
fined.
much.
You're going to get fined. That is illegal. You cannot do that. So it is 40 hours in that work week. And so if you work 40 hours and you work 45 hours, you can't now say, okay, the next week you're going to work 35 hours and now you're not going to be eligible for your 5 hours a week you put in last week for overtime. No, ma'am.
Are you a small business owner and you struggle to answer some of the questions that I just asked during the money moment? Great news, you are in the right spot. My firm, Money Honey Financial, we have bookkeeping solutions for every budget. So whether you are a seasoned business owner and you're just ready to completely outsource bookkeeping, or you're just getting started and you need someone to help you set up your QuickBooks, we have a solution for you. So head to my website, www.moneyhoneyfinancial.com/bookkeeping, so that you can get started today and you can have better money moments. Oh, wow. So I had one more money moment question, but
Oh,
I don't even want
wow.
to ask. Corinne, let's get into what exactly you do for your clients.
So what exactly we do for our clients? Oh, so this is so much fun. So I like to say we are organizational development arm of HR. So we do everything you've seen done in a large HR department, but we take it and scale it down to work with small businesses. So we do full cycle recruitment. So that is if you want to hire someone, we take on all of the recruitment process for you. So anything from getting the job description to posting it, we post on a number of different platforms. We shift through all the resumes, so you don't have to do none of that. We do all of the screening, the phone screenings, the interviewing, and then we bring you on with a number of candidates that you can interview and then determine if they meet your needs.
So as a business owner, you saving time for me.
We
'Cause
saving time for you. We saving all the headache. We do all of negotiations. So once we identify your position and we say we work with you, your numbers, we identify how much money you can afford. We identify that range. So you're not going to get in the interview process and then they're like, "Oh, I want an additional $3,000." You're not going to see a candidate like that because we've already weeded those folks out. We know that they understand the role and they're within that. So that's recruitment. We also write policies. So any type of employee handbooks, progressive discipline policies, performance management policies. So all of those HR compliance type things. We also build internship programs. So we can go directly to colleges and universities so we can start building that talent pipeline for you so that you don't have to worry about what's going to happen to my business when I leave. A lot of the big businesses do this. You see them, the Vanguards of the world, the Amazons of the world, the Aramarks of the world. They'll come into colleges and universities and they'll put you on a management trainee track. And then by the time you graduate, you've been there for a year, 2 years. Now you're like, they gonna offer you a job and you don't know nothing. It's your first job. But guess what? They built a talent pipeline because now you're going into wherever you best fit from being in that management trainee program. And so now they built succession. And so a lot of our small Black minority women-owned businesses are not thinking about succession. We want our businesses to survive, thrive, and leave a legacy. We're in this for the long haul, generational wealth, right?
Can you say that again? We want our businesses to do
Survive,
what?
thrive, and leave a legacy. That's our tagline. And we have 3 retainer plans. That's what we call our retainer plans: survive, thrive, and legacy plans as well. So we want you to um, be able to build individuals in your organization that is able to move up through the talent pipeline. So they may come in entry level, but you're teaching them different areas of the business, see where their skill sets are, and then placing them where they need to be. So where they can go into marketing, they can go into sales, they can go into lead generation, they can go into product development, wherever it is they can go into. So we're working with colleges and universities to do that. And then we also do HR compliance. So all of your auditing stuff and uh, all of your, hey, we need to terminate somebody, we need to ask somebody to transition out, we have progressive discipline, or we have performance management issues. So we serve as that third party to be able to come in and be that HR person. All of our stuff is fully insured. All of our work is fully insured, is 100% compliant. We're tapped in with the government, so we can do background checks. We can do I-9 certification, make sure that folks are who they say they are, that they are eligible to work, and like all that fun stuff. And then we also do business development. So we will help you. That's why you said about the resources. We will help you get connected to the resources, depending on what stage your business is in, to say, hey, we think you should go here, you should go here, and help you kind of strategically plan for the next step for your business.
I love that. And then how do I know when it's time for me to call you? So I'm a new business owner. When do I pick up the phone and call you?
That's a good question. So we get businesses that call us in all different stages.
Okay.
I will say the majority of our clients are at least 5 to 8 years old.
Okay.
They have anywhere from 1 to 25 employees,
Okay.
or looking to add someone to their team. They may be a solopreneur but overwhelmed. and they should be grossing at least over the six figures.
Okay.
Most of our clients are somewhere between 750 and $1 million in revenue. But if we are working with a client on an individual basis, working with an organization on an individual basis, and they have a product or they have a service that they are trending to be upwards of $250,000 in revenue, we can kind of help support them.
Okay.
We might not be able to get them right away in the first year, where they need to be HR wise, but we can kind of put something in place to kind of move them along.
So if I'm a small business owner and I'm not at a point where I can afford to outsource my HR, what are some things that I should be thinking about until I get to that point?
So one of the things you should be thinking about is reaching out to some of those free resources that I talked about, whether it is those SBA services or your local services, and then starting to think about what you need to do for yourself to save, because HR is one of those areas that not only you're going to find that you're going to need to have within your organization or outsource. A lot of time our businesses will focus on marketing and they'll focus on sales. Hey, I got a product I could sell. Hey, I can market a product. We got social media, we got all these different platforms, and their business is sustainable. However, once you get to a certain level, your HR issues are going to come into play. Whether that is, oh, I can't grow so much because I can't be a one person show. I
Right.
can't design the t-shirts, print the t-shirts, pack them up, send them to everybody. I can't be a one person show. So you're going to have to grow the team. Then it's like, I need more money to operate. I need more hours in a day. And the only time you can create more hours in a day is to create more people that's working with you on, create more partnerships and more folks that's working to support you. So you're going to start to see that. And then once you start growing team members, you're going to start to see the personality pieces. You're
I
going to
need
start to see
somebody
the
else to
staff.
manage this.
You're going to start to see the staff dynamics. And then once you start getting into the money management thing, you're going to start to see the lifestyle changes that you need to make in order to manage the business as well.
Oh, wow. So what can we expect from HR Mom coming up?
Oh my goodness. HR Mom has so much stuff going on. So we have our ebook that's dropping soon.
Tell us about it.
So the ebook is a resource for small businesses and a lot of the HR functions. So in the ebook, we're going to be talking about how you can find your own talent and how to start thinking about hiring, when to know when you can hire. There's a chapter in there that talks about local resources, where you can go. There's a chapter in there that talks a lot about just really thinking about succession and growing your team. So this is just a whole lot of resources that talks about, once you have a team, how to keep the team connected in communication, how to manage them if you're managing a team of folks that are not only just remote, but maybe different generations. We got different generations in the workforce now too. And just really starting to think about, how do you pull a team together for your brand? And so there's a lot of pieces in that book. So hopefully that'll be dropping before the end of the year.
Okay.
We are also getting ready to work with some colleges and universities and writing some curriculum.
Okay.
So we're going to be writing some different curriculum for programs and presenting some workshops and things of that nature. We got some government contracting and stuff coming up.
2025 is going to be a busy year.
2025 is going to be busy. Like I said, I'm wrapping up my doctorate. So my doctorate is in strategic leadership. And so I'm going to be working with some larger organizations as we look at how people show up authentically in the workplace, particularly Black women, and supporting their mental health issues. And so I'm going to be working on that as well, because that's very near and dear to me as well. And I say this jokingly, but I also say it in truth, that I myself can never work for anybody else ever again. Part of that is because I know that a lot of what's happening in corporate America, they don't have the programs and the support to support a person like me in the workplace. With all of my pedigree and experience, there are days and moments where I need to show up for me, and I need to show up for myself, and I need to show up in ways for the things that are important to me. And I can't do that with the pressure of corporate America on me. And so, if I need a day off because I'm managing grief or I'm managing a heavy workload, because even the work is tough, I I can't be subjected to just 3 days because I only get
Mm-hmm.
3 health and wellness days, or I only get 10 vacation days a year, or I only get 3 days for the bereavement policy. I mean, the grief cycle takes a whole year to get through. How
Right.
you tell somebody that you only have 3 days to grieve a loved one, and that loved one has to be this type of loved one as close to you as a dependent or a close relative. In our communities it could be an extended aunt, cousin, or in our communities everybody family.
Yeah,
So if you grew up with somebody and
that's
then you
real.
lost that person, and now I'm not as productive at work because the grief policy only allowed me 3 days, and well,
Mm-hmm.
it took 3 days to plan everything and just
Right.
show up. And now I can't get even together. And as Black women, we carry a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think Malcolm X said it when he said it well, like we are the most unprotected, disrespected um, person in a society. And
Right.
so we carry a lot for our families and our communities, and to now have to show up in the workplace and I can't show up as my authentic self, and you don't have the programs and the supports from the HR side of things in place for me, I
Yeah.
can't work here.
So with you being a business owner and you feeling like I can't go work for anybody, how do you make sure that the people that you hire don't feel that way when they come to work?
Yeah, that's a good question. So part of it is being as authentic and open as we can in the hiring and recruitment process and the
Mm,
talent acquisition pipeline, because there are questions that you cannot ask in HR, right? All of your protected class type questions, but you can um, get a feel for how this person fits in the company and how
mm,
this position fits their lifestyle. So we're asking questions about, you know, why do you want to work for this brand? Why do you want to work for my company? What is it that you bring? I know you have experience and can do the job, but why do you want to be here? Where's your passion? And then we're looking at some of those dynamics that help them to be able to perform the job. Or if the job says that you need to be able to visit and see clients every day, is there anything that's happening that's making you unable to do that? Um,
mm,
if it says that you need to have a license and access to a vehicle and you don't have a car, okay, you might be the best candidate, but can you get on public transportation? And if I
mm.
feel like public transportation is okay as an employer, I need to understand this person that I hired is the best position for the job. The listing having access to a car was preferred, not required.
Mm.
If I'm getting that person, I need to understand that this person doesn't have access to a vehicle.
Right. So they might be late,
So
or
they
if
might be
they're
late and you
depending
need to
on
make
something else.
concessions, or they're dependent on X, Y, and Z, or they're a, caregiver to a young child or a aging parent and X, Y, and Z is happening. And sometimes people disclose that in the process, and sometimes it comes up in, the conversation
Mm.
and the hiring. In the job posted. So being as descriptive as you can in the job posting with what are the needs, and then asking those questions, can you meet these requirements? And if not, why not? And then, without saying, tell me everything about you, right? But why can't you? And then if you cannot, then if that person is still the best person for the role, you hire them.
Mm.
But you know what you're getting, and you make concessions for that in an authentic way. And
Mm.
so there are people in the workforce who are empowered to advocate for themselves.
Right.
This is what I need to be successful. And guess what? If they're the best person for the job, I'll work with them. And
Mm.
I will encourage my client to work with them. We encourage our clients to hire directly from the community in which their businesses are placed. So most of the time they're hiring returning citizens. They are hiring women that may be returning from like a welfare to work program.
Mm.
Sometimes they are hiring youth. They may be hiring veterans, and they may be working with a program, a workforce development program that helps to subsidize that employment, which is financial savings as well. But you know exactly what you're getting. This person has been pre-trained, or they're in transition in some way, shape, or form, and we know where the gaps are in training. So I think there's a beauty in that, because there is a commitment that you're making to this person, and then they're making a commitment to you and your business. And we find that a lot of times they're very loyal. And when we do our hiring process, our hirees stay on average 18 to 24 months with a hire. We're not seeing the turnover that we see and a lot of small businesses see because they're not hiring authentically for that person. And people sometimes are not working for just the money all the time. Sometimes they're working for those concessions and flexibility. And as we've seen with COVID, some jobs can be done remotely.
Right.
And as we see now, people are asking for these concessions in the workplace. They're saying, hey, is this job remote? Hey, can I, can I do a hybrid schedule? So people are coming to the table and saying, here's what I bring, here's my value, here's the work I can do, and here's what I'm asking for. Are you able to do it?
Corinne, if one thing that has been very apparent to me throughout this entire interview is that you are an educator. You back everything up with facts. You got statistics. You telling us percentages, this out of this, and it's so impactful. Like, I love the way that you talk about your business. I love the way that you talk about the work that you do. And one thing that this interview has got me excited to do is build a company that can employ people in a way that they should be employed, right? Like, I'm ready to leave out here. I'm like, oh my God, like, I need to hire people and I need to be in a position where I can hire people to
That's
be able to
right.
give them living wages, all of these things. So I'm so excited. I'm so grateful for the work that you do. It's so needed. I think every business owner should be thinking about these things, even when we're small, like mine. I'm thinking about how I get to the point where I can hire you and have you as my back office.
I appreciate
and when
that.
we need you, because your work is so needed. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
This has been so insightful. I'm like, 52,000 salary employee.
58.
58,000 salary employee.
Don't jip the people. Don't jip the people.
I love that. But Corinne, as we wrap up this interview, can you leave us with some advice to any aspiring entrepreneurs or current entrepreneurs? What are your last words for us?
Know what you're getting into. And when you're jumping into entrepreneurship, it cannot be about the money. It cannot be about the money. It has to be something deep. It has to be something deep in your soul. It has to be something deep in your spirit. It has to be something that you can stand on. It has to be God-driven. It has to be purposeful. It has to be something that you are proud of, that when you leave here, you know you've fulfilled your purpose for being here. It can't be for the flashiness of it. I mean, we see a lot of entrepreneurs and the creative. I mean, I love people that are creatives. They make it look so good. Like, I mean, you could be like, wow, like entrepreneurship look like the way to go. You got people want to quit their job tomorrow and they say they could do it. And I'm like, when you get out here in these streets, listen, there's some days the account just made payroll. There's some days you don't know when the next contract is coming. There are some days where, like I said earlier, I got afraid and scared. So you have to know what you are getting into, and it has to be more than about the money. You need a faith-based system. You need to stand on something eternal, and it's got to be deep down inside. It can't be just, oh, I'm gonna get out here and do this because there ain't nothing else to do. It's got to be something that's in your soul, and you got to walk it out.
Wow. I feel like I'm on fire right now after this conversation. I am like ready to go and get to work. This has been so awesome. Corinne, tell people where they can find you, where they'll be able to find the and it's an ebook. How much is the ebook?
It's ebook.
How much? What's the price for it?
Right now it is going to be free.
Whoa!
Free 99. Okay, it's going to be free 99.
Oh, stop playing.
It is. It's going to be free 99.
Okay, so we'll make sure. We'll definitely make sure to link it.
It's going to be on our website, which you can find us at www.hrmomllc.com. And so it's going to be on our website. All of our socials is HRMom4U. And then on Facebook, I think we're HR Mom LLC.
Awesome.
But on TikTok, Instagram, we're at HR Mom 4U. The number 4U.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Corinne. This has
Thank
been
you so much. I got a gift for you. I got a gift for you.
No.
Where's my gift? My gift. So at HR Mom, we say the goal is always to survive, thrive, and leave a legacy. So we want all of our businesses to survive, thrive, and leave a legacy. We want you to come out of survival mode, build up your HR department so that you can survive, thrive, and leave a legacy.
Oh my. Thank you so
Money, honey.
much.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for having me. We just got our logo trademark too. So we're going to be right up there with Starbucks and recognize.
Love it.
Y'all see it.
My name is Khadija Bingham, and I am building a business that will do more than survive. We are thriving and building a legacy. Yay! Thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Let's Talk Money Honey podcast with me, your host, Khadija Bingham. I hope you found today's conversation with Corinne insightful because I definitely have. Entrepreneurship isn't easy, but it's the real experiences and raw moments that true growth happen. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your fellow hustlers and bosses. And if you're not already, make sure you follow us on Instagram. The link to our Instagram is in the show notes. And for all additional resources that Money Honey offers can be found in the show notes as well. Until next time, keep hustling, keep thriving, and keep making money, honey.